Okay, okay. On behalf of Parekh Technical Institute, Rajkot, Gujarat, I welcome you all on the Impact Series lectures. The today's topic is virtual interaction on design methods. We are happy to have with us Sushmita Rao, ma'am, who has done her undergraduation in industrial design from DJ Academy, Coimbatore, and at present she is pursuing her master's from Goldsmith University of London. I hope this lecture will be very fruitful to all the beginners as well as the persons who are interested in shaping their career in design field. I welcome you all again. Thank you.
Over to you, ma'am.
Hi. Hi, thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction. I will share my screen. Yeah, is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'll start the presentation now. Welcome everyone to the talk on design methods today. I'm Sushmita. As Sir said, I did my undergraduation in industrial design, but after graduating, I worked in all sorts of fields in design, ranging from industrial design to graphic design to interaction design. And currently, the course that I'm doing is in interaction design. It is called a UI UX course. Right, slideshow. So just a small disclaimer before I start the talk, that all the content that I have used in this presentation, audio or video, if I have not made it, I have sourced it and I have listed the source below, beyond which if you use any of the contents, which would be your responsibility. This is a small practice in our field that we do is because we respect the work of other people, and we make sure that when you're using someone else's work, you source it, you say that you got it from somewhere else. And you can always take inspirations, but you have to make sure that you state the source of your inspiration. Right. So to begin with, what is design and how to define it? Let's go back to every word that is in English has a history of where it came from. So in the 14th century, design meant to shape or to just make. That was the definition of design. And in 16th century, it became a little bit more meaningful when they said intentionally to make something or to plan something or to make a drawing of something. And then the current definition that we follow is to plan or draw an outline of proposed work. But this applies to architecture, this applies to engineering design, and this also applies to the design industry that I am going to be talking about. So as most of you would know, engineering design is where you do mechanical inventions and you innovate in terms of mechanics and or robotics, versus the industry that I am talking about includes things like service design, fashion design, textile design, industrial design, interaction design, graphic design, and interior design. I know most of the people would only be aware of fashion design or interior design to be the popular ones, but nowadays in India, you get courses on all sorts of design. It's really picked up now. Design has picked up a lot of pace in India. A lot of colleges are offering design courses, especially even in Gujarat, in fact. So I'm going to be talking from the perspectives that I have experience in, which is industrial design, interaction design, and graphic design. Sorry, yeah. So I would say design is multidisciplinary because it's not just the drawing part that we have to make. What we make has to be manufacturable. What we make has to be usable. What we make has to be sellable. At the same time, it has to be aesthetic. So when I talk about industrial design, I worked with engineers. I worked with mechanical engineers and electrical engineers side by side. So I would pass the design to them and they would tell me if that's right or wrong. Or they would say, this design is not fitting our manufacturing process. So can you please change it? So I have to work with them, which means that every time I do a project, I have to gain engineering knowledge as well. So if you talk about graphic design, you would think, what is there in doing a logo? Which usually, while doing graphic design, I had to work with a lot of printers and printmaking process. I have to talk to printers about the technical setting of the printer, the color, and I have to make sure that I get the output that I need. And if you talk about interaction design, which is web design, I have to work with programmers and coders to make sure that my web designs are implementable, are codable, are programmable. Otherwise, if they are not, then my designs are never going to become a reality. Now, when I say usability in industrial design, I would say if I'm making a product, a physical product, then can the user actually hold it? Can the user interact with it? Can the user pick up the product and put it? Is it the intentional use that I had in mind or not? Sellability refers to, when I say sellable, I refer to the business aspect of it, which brings in the marketing team, right? And the aesthetic brings in the art side of it or the beauty side of it. So I have to keep in mind, or designers have to keep in mind, a lot of these things and work through each one of them. So we are working with manufacturing teams, usability testing teams, marketing teams, and at the same time making sure that my art or my designs are different, are I'm able to bring the artistic side to it. That is why I think all design is multidisciplinary, because you have to consult with 4 other teams or 3 other teams to make anything a reality. So there is this process that we use usually, which is called a design process. And if you Google it, you're going to get a long list of things long list of things to be done as part of the design process. It could be quite intimidating at the beginning when you just Google it and there's a long list of things you have to do a design process. But I'm going to break it down into just 3 simple things, which is you have a problem, you prove that you have a problem. Then once you prove that you have a problem, you offer solutions to it. Once you offer solution to it, now you pick the best ones and then you test if the solution is working or not working. So what we're going to do and see today is that this is the process with any sort of design, industrial, interaction, graphic, or any design project. So we're going to look in depth into the 3 things that I mentioned. And if you thought that solution is something that we concentrate on the most, then you're wrong, because 40% of our time goes into just understanding what the problem is. If sometimes we think there is a problem somewhere, but it's not the real problem, then you're just wasting time solving the wrong problem. So we make sure that we get the problem exactly right. So for that, we do a lot of research. We do a lot of secondary research, which is on the desktop, or primary research, which is where we go into the industry and we talk to people about what is it the problem that you're having, or we confirm before declaring that it is a problem. And once we do that, then we have 20% of the time dedicated to doing solutions. The creative inspirations can come from anywhere, but we don't put in too much time into the solution making process, because once you select a solution, you have to then test it. And testing takes a lot longer, because you have to collaborate with team manufacturing teams, or you have to collaborate with prototyping teams. It's going to take up a lot of time. So what we usually do in design cycles to make this feasible is that we use something called agile design cycles. Agile design cycles is nothing but the same process, but a much faster pace. If you have a problem, you quickly do a solution and you test the solution very quickly. And you don't have to invest too much into each solution or testing that you make. We do it in the most frugal means possible. If your testing means that if your solution can be tested on paper, then do it on paper. Prototype it, take it to the people, ask a bunch of people, ask a bunch of potential users about how they feel about the solution, get feedback, and start the cycle all over again. So if I have to reduce design down to really the core of it and not use any of the fancy words that usually go around, it is at the core of it problem solving. And I think this applies to engineering design as well. But how do we go about now doing the problem solving part, as I said, the problem recognition and problem definition? So there is this process called double diamond method that we use in design, where, as you see at the point at the starting point, there's a single point, the start of the diamond, and then it expands outwards, which is you discover as many problems as you want. You can be doing that using internet, using other people's work, using competitor analysis, using actual user data from what you collected by talking to people. Once you have 100 problems, then you're going to sit and say, but how do I now pick or know which is the most important one, right? And then you define it. The diamond then converges into one point where you're saying these are the number of problems that I want to focus on. Once you have the number of problems that you want to focus on, then again the diamond expands, which is you give as many solutions as you can. For the two problems that you discovered, you will give 50 solutions to it. You will at least have 50 solutions on paper. Just keep going rigorously at it. And once you have 50 solutions, at that point, you don't have anything to worry about. So one of the things why solution making that we practice is that no criticism. Even if someone comes up with an idea that doesn't sound right, you don't criticize them at that point, because we are not trying to analyze the solutions yet. We just want 50 solutions on paper, and we will have 50 solutions on paper. It may not be feasible, it may be feasible. So usually in the industry or in my previous place that I worked, it was 70% of I have to, when I'm making solutions, 70% of solutions must be feasible and 30% of solutions can be rocket science. That's what I was told, that keep 70% very sober and very, if I have to manufacture it tomorrow, it's possible. But 30% go crazy over it, go crazy. Give me whatever your mind can think about. So that way I get to both do both go crazy on my creativity, saying I want to do this, I want to do that, and I also have solutions which are very makeable or manufacturable. So it's upon the client then if they want to merge these two ideas. Sometimes what happens is when you're presenting solutions to a client, you present both of these. You present the feasible ones and you present the creative ones as well. Sometimes they are really convinced by the creative ones and they decide to put in the budget for it. Then it's a win-win for both parties, because creative solutions are usually the way to innovate, the probably the driver of innovation. So let's say you have 50 solutions on paper, coming back to this, and what you do then is use some tools to then say, okay, but which solutions should I pick now? Which ones do I know make the most sense? Which ones do I know should I be solving? Once you, for delivery, you narrow down on the solutions that you want to give, and a few solutions it is what you'd be ideally testing at the end of the day. Right. So what we're going to do today is that I'm going to take you through a double diamond process, but I'm going to give you an example. So I'm a big tea fan. I'm a big tea fan. And as soon as I came to the UK, it was a huge deal for me to not have tea. And all the time, the tea that I would make would not taste the same. And it would ruin my day because it's the one thing that I have, which was my ritual, my morning ritual, First thing in the morning, I go drink tea or I make tea. And as soon as I came here, nothing tasted right. And suddenly I was very unhappy with the fact that I could not make consistent tea. So let's consider that inconsistency in the taste of tea is a problem for me. We're going to take that as a problem statement. And we're going to apply the design process to it and see what comes out of it, if I can ever make good tea or not. Um, So we have the problem. What we're going to do now is first empathize. If some of you are coffee drinkers, or you're not fond of tea, or your morning ritual is not tea, you cannot say that, you know what, but I don't drink tea, so I don't know how to solve your problem. It does not work like that. So you have to empathize with me. You can pick, you may be a coffee drinker, so consider it like coffee, or understand why tea is so important to me by talking to me, and empathize with me and believe that it is a real problem with me. So you don't have to drink tea every time, but you have to just talk to me about why is it that I think it's so important to me. And then you go do your research. So in research, we have two types. One is a secondary research and the second is a primary research. Secondary research is to search the internet or search books, internet, journals, libraries for any material that you can find in and around tea. So you would be searching for things such as the beverage. Tea is a beverage, it's a hot beverage. So what other hot beverages are there? How do they affect the brain? What are the competitive analysis of it? What is the composition of tea? What goes into it? The history of tea, the culture behind tea. All of that you can find on secondary research. And in primary research, I will go talk to a bunch of people who drink tea. And then I will do interviews with them to understand exactly if they have the problem, where exactly do they have the problem, and what I can do about it. So we conduct interviews and experiments with likely audience and make sure that we know that there is a problem. And then we define. So for definition, we use certain tools. These tools are actually what I want to introduce to you guys, because you may not be able to use all the tools or all the parts of the process, but if you can and try and use a few of these tools in your own projects, it would be really useful for you. It will give you quick insights into how to pick a problem, how to make sure that you have the right problem. So for the 4Ws, the 5 Is: decision matrix, problem statement, and journey maps. I'm going to give some examples of this so that we understand them better. Right. So if I have to do the 4Ws on my T issue, who has it? A student who is between 20 to 30 years of age and is a female. I have it. That's the demographic. That's one of the demographics, which is 20 to 30 years old, student and female. And what is the problem is that inconsistency in the taste of tea. I don't get the same tea every single day. Sorry, the where is it's hap the where is the context that I'm living in right now. It's an international city. It's not where usually tea would be made the way I make it. Then why is because it ruins my mood for the day, and because it's a morning ritual, it kickstarts my day. And if that doesn't go right, I feel like the rest of my day is going to come down. That's why it's very important to me. So let's take the what. The inconsistency is caused by why is there inconsistency in my tea? You can say not enough steeping. By steeping, I mean the longer you let the tea leaf be in the water, the more flavor will come out, right? So there's not enough flavor coming out of the tea. Why is there not enough flavor coming out of the tea? Is because I don't have any time to wait. And why don't I have time to wait? Because I also have to make breakfast and then I have to go to college. So let's say in the 5 Ys, it it says 5 Ys, but sometimes it can just stop at 3 Ys, or it can go up to 8, 10 Ys until you feel like you've reached the root cause. So now, even though I had asked 4 Ys already or 3 Ys, I need to stop here. That the fact that I have no time to wait for the tea to actually give out flavor, right? Maybe the problem is that there is no time, right? So yeah, maybe the problem is that there's no time. And we go a step back for that and stop there. We stop at no time to wait. We don't consider the make breakfast part. Because if you ask another why after that, why do I make breakfast? Because I need to eat. That is nothing to do with your core problem. That's why you take a step back. Similarly, there may be instances where you may need to ask two more whys to get to the real problem. To explain the five whys a little bit more, I'm going to show a video. I hope the audio is audible.
It is not audible, ma'am. You may have to share your system sound.
Shared system sound. It's already sharing, I think. Just give me a sec. Sorry about that. It's a very good video. I don't want you guys to miss it. I am. I am right. My screen is visible, right?
Yes. When you share content, it shows on right side of that
Right,
corner.
right, right.
Include computer sound.
Got it. Thank you. Yes, got it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think it's audible now. I think it should be. All right.
Ago, the stone exterior was deteriorating at the Jefferson Memorial
Yes,
in Washington,
audible.
D.C., a popular monument in the United States. Repairing the stone or painting over the worn areas was too expensive. So park rangers turned to root cause analysis and started asking why.
Why was the stone deteriorating?
High-powered sprayers were being used to wash the memorial every 2 weeks.
Why were high-powered washings needed every 2 weeks?
Because of bird droppings.
Asking why stopped because it seemed the cause was found. Workers put nets around the building, but they were unsightly, and the birds found ways around them. So it was back to the drawing board, or the 5 whys.
Why are there so many birds?
They come to feed on spiders.
Why are there so many spiders?
They feed on insects at night.
Why are there so many insects?
They're attracted by lights that shine on the memorial at night.
With a new cause found, questions stopped, and a plan was created to reduce the amount of time the memorial spent in the spotlight at night, and it worked. The insects were reduced by 90%, and with the root cause removed, the excessive cleaning was no longer needed. An unexpected benefit was a cost savings realized by using less electricity. This highlights how root cause analysis can involve trial and error, and how the 5 whys isn't always limited to exactly 5 questions. Read more about root cause analysis and the Jefferson Memorial story at the link below.
Yeah, I hope that was audible enough and there's no interruptions in that. But it's been applied in the real world to solve problems that are beyond design, in fact, for any problem or where people are stuck with understanding what is the problem. Five Eyes is a very popular technique that is around. And another technique is to do a journey map, which would be as soon as I enter the kitchen, what are the tasks that I am doing until I exit the kitchen again. So I enter the kitchen, and usually when we do a journey map, you break down the my journey into tasks, but you also ask me how I'm feeling while each task is going on. So you put like an emotion scale next to it, saying, how am I feeling doing that particular task? So when I enter the kitchen, I'm quite happy. It's a morning, it's a good day, and I still have to find the utensils. Then I'm feeling a little bit irritated because I have to find the utensils. You have to open the drawers and then find it. And then, sorry. Uh, Sorry. Yeah. And after I find the utensil, I use the most of the hobs here are electric or are induction. So they take a lot of time to heat up, and that really irritates me the most amount. I'm just waiting for the stuff to heat up, and it's really irritating. That's why there's an angry emoji over there. And then when I'm making the tea, which is boiling my water, putting in the tea leaf, putting in the milk, I'm quite happy because I like making tea. And then when I'm straining, it's the best because I'm getting the aroma of the tea. I know it's going to be ready to take a sip out of. And then cleaning again is not something that I like. So I've just broken down the process into steps, and I've put how I feel at each step. So what this does is You may ask the person what the problem is, and they will tell you, or as we did the five eyes, there is no time to wait. But when you ask them about emotions on the side, then you see that the heating is actually maybe contributing to my irritated behavior in the morning as well. So, is there something we can do about it? We will see that. So, there's problems that have started to surface now. There is no time to wait, the heating takes too long, the cleaning is too much, or the utensils I cannot find. So, there are a few problems that are starting to now surface up. Now, out of the problems, how do we actually make sure that we've picked a good enough one? Right. There is something called a problem matrix that we use. And I would like some participants at this point, if to make the session a little bit interactive. I hope you're all following what's been happening till now. Let's say that one of the problems is utensil access. Second problem is slow heating. And the third problem is lack of routine time. And I have a matrix here, which is very simple. There's a pain point. How much does it pain me actually? And there is an effort to fix that problem from low to high and then from low to high. Could you guys give me an idea of where I would place the problem number one? Which quadrant would problem number one fit into? Feel free to open your mic and tell me that, or type in the chat section. Do we have any replies?
I think you can place it in the bottom left quadrant, utensil access. It's a very simple problem and you can probably solve it with very less effort. You can have
All right.
sections that are made.
All right. Let's look at the second problem as well, the slow heating. Where would you place the slow heating problem?
I think top left would be good enough because it has quite a lot of, I mean, it irritates you a lot, but it can be fixed easily. Slow heating can be fixed with a high power coil or you can increase the energy input that you require and it will speed up the whole process. You can
Right,
use, yeah.
right. And let's say lack of routine time, the third one.
Could you elaborate on this lack of routine time? Or is that you do not have enough time to actually sit around and
Yes.
make tea?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that will require the highest effort to fix because talks about human behavior. Right? Eh,
Yeah.
Simple, but it is difficult to fix. So I think we can put that in bottom right. Bottom right.
Okay. All right. I will show you what I had placed them in the quadrants. That is how I had placed it. Because as you said, slow heating can be fixed by change of coil, right? But the thing is, in my scenario, in the UK scenario, they will have to replace the entire unit hub to increase the heating. I think
Okay.
versus in India, we actually have solutions to manually tackle or manually intervene in the process without having to replace the entire uh, thing. So that's why I placed the slow heating in most effort to fix.
Okay.
Yeah. See, that's a perfect example because you're coming from an engineering point of view and you see what's feasible immediately with the problems. Versus I'm coming from a behavioral design or I understand your behavior and I'm going to give you some solutions for your behavior point of view. And this would be different for each person and it has to be because not if I do this project and if you do the project, we are going to come out with totally different outcomes, but they may be both right at the same time. So this process is just to help you navigate through finishing a project or understanding what the actual problem is in your scenario. So maybe if it was India, this chart would not make sense for India. Yeah. And a similar thing now we do is that uh, if there's a lack of routine, let's say, these are the problems that we are thinking about, and similar matrix can be applied to a solution matrix. It's called a solution matrix because now you can say one solution is tea maker. Abandon all of this manual tea making and just get a tea maker. You will have good tea every single day. That's one of the solutions. Another solution is let's make some hooks for you to hang your tea vessels so that you don't have to find them. Or let's say there is something we can do about the heating, or we'll get a new stove, no problem. That's one of the solutions. So you may have now a bunch of solutions for the problems. And how do you pick? It's going to be almost the same, but here one scale is going from low to high and the other is going from high to low. Now, in the solutions, what I mean by these, I'll explain one, two, and three. The first one is a tea maker. The second one, let's say, is a podcast. Let's say as soon as you enter the kitchen, what you do to time yourself, instead of putting a reminder or instead of starting a timer, you listen to a podcast. Or maybe the podcast is telling you exactly what to do when. So you don't feel like you are late or you don't feel like you have not let it sit for enough time. Because when you're listening to something, you're not listening exactly to what's going on in your mind. You're a little bit concentrated on listening to a podcast. Maybe your time that you already have can be better divided by listening to a podcast on how to make tea or anything else, or just setting reminders on your phone. So if I have to now place these solutions, I know solutions are not creative at all. I just came up with them for the sake of it. Now, if I had to place the solutions one, two, three in the quadrants that I have shown next to it, could again another person help me with placing the solutions in the right quadrants or whatever quadrant you think it fits in? Oh, and on the quadrant is on the left side is the value of the solution. How valuable will it be in solving my problem? And this is the effort that is going to take that it's going to take to solve the problem. It's just a casual exercise and don't have to be wrong or right. So you can just give it a shot. Is anyone responding? Or is that background noise? I think that was background noise. All right, no
I
problem.
think
So I'm
I
going to
think
show you where.
okay. Okay.
No, no, go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go
Please
ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was just trying to. Yeah, I thought if somebody is going to speak, then I might as well speak. But then, you're going ahead. Please.
Yes, of course. Let's see. You can place one, two, and three in the quadrants. You can tell me where you think they fit.
Reminder number three. It fits at high effort and high value. So top left.
Okay.
Podcast is low effort and high value. So top right, and
Okay.
tea maker is I don't know. You'd have to. I don't know if it counts as effort for you to go to the store and buy a tea maker and then install it. Maybe that is high effort and high value.
Okay. All right. So usually when you place things in the solution matrix like this, the one that has yes is the ones that would be your quick wins. If you quickly want to launch something into the industry, anything that fits into this quadrant over here with the yes in it are the solutions that you should be implementing. But sometimes the maybe quadrants also can come into play depending on how much investment your client is willing to make. So I place them like that, which is tea maker is, I believe, very high effort because we are talking about purchasing or manufacturing a tea maker. So it's a very high effort for value that is low because tea makers have been around for some time. Would a tea maker satisfy me? I don't think so. Because the corporate offices, they have tea machines, right? But do we prefer to go out and drink at the tapri instead of drinking at the tea maker? I think we do, right? As humans, we have certain other tendencies, certain emotional things that we enjoy a lot. And we would not enjoy something that is machine made, and especially something that is so close to me, that is like tea. And let's say the podcast is there, which is, it won't take much effort to actually make a podcast. It's just recording a voice and then streaming it on media channels. It's not, but could it be of any more value? I think it could be of value. Again, this is not any right or wrong. There's no right or wrong here. A reminder, I believe, is that we already have reminders in our phones, but why don't reminders work sometimes? Because again, it's an obligation. It's this touched behavior, the human behavior towards something that is like a reminder, like a deadline. We get anxious about it, we get scared when it's coming close, or it suddenly starts ringing, it's not going to make me feel good, or plenty other behavioral aspects such as that. But in doing both of these, so I hope you guys have understood the problem matrix and the solution matrix. And you can use this in your projects as well, and it would give you good effect. If it's not working, then you may try and change some parameters here and there to fit your project, and they should be able to give you some value, these tools. Now, one of the things to consider in while doing this entire process is that there is not one person that has that problem, right? There could be different people. So I'm a student who has that problem. Maybe some professionals have that problem too because they have to get to work too. Or maybe children do, because when they're growing up, they want to make things on their own, but they're not liking what they make. You want to encourage a child to make their own food, make their own drinks. Then what do you do? So all three of these people may be requiring the solution that you're making. So you have to make sure when you're doing a user journey, if you remember, when I broke down the tasks, you have to consider the student task breakdown, the professional working task breakdown, and the children's task breakdown. And then you will see that there are some common tasks, that common problems that we all have. And if we go around solving the common problems, then you're automatically making the experience better for all three demographics, which is students, professionals, and children. And if there are too many tasks that you have to cater to, you can prioritize which one you want to solve first. You can say, the common task 2 is more important to me, so I'm going to solve that first and bring it into testing first. And also, it is a true story. I dearly love tea, and I could not ever replicate what I used to make in India. But my solution here, honestly, was to switch to paper bags, paper tea bags, because then I don't have to, the loose tea doesn't have to, if I put a spoon more or a spoon less, it doesn't matter. It's a paper bag, so it's consistently the same tea. And also, I don't have to strain my tea, because the straining was a huge problem for me because I have to clean everything right after I make it. So with tea bags, all I had to do is take out the tea bags and dump them and ready to drink tea. Yes. So that's what I did. That's what I implemented for myself as a solution. Um, then let's talk about even if you go through the process that I've just mentioned, there will be many aspects why the design could still be a fail. Or if not a fail, you can say, why is it not gaining traction? Why is it not gaining attention from people? Or what is it that's not working? So one of the things that need to be considered is the consumer behavior. And by behavior, what I mean is your behavior till date is influenced initially by your personality that you're innately born with, your experiences that you've had as a child, and just who you are as a self. Then comes the layer of, as you grow up, you have education in a certain way, you have the influences around you, your parents, your teachers, your role models, then you have the society around you. Now this, if you can imagine, may change from each Indian state to, they're completely different. The education is different, the influences are different, the society is different. That's why you would find that some people in some states are think differently about some things because of the way they've grown up, that has influenced their behavior in that certain way. And then the larger circle would be to consider the political scenario, what's happening around, what is the culture like, what is the environment like, um, and then even at a largest the largest circle, you'd have the nature around you, you'd have the international influence, and you'll have the global goals. Global goals are something that we try and follow when we do a design, which is to reduce comply with like a certain amount of global goals to make it more globally acceptable and to make it safe for the environment. So all of these things put together is what define human behavior, and it is so much more complex than just these layers. It looks so clean and neat. It's not that. It's not like that at all. It's supremely complex, and it is something that we only learn by doing and testing and by feedback. There are products in the market that have triggered behavior badly, and they would go for a fail. So that's how we learn that not to do that. And if you remember in research, when I mentioned primary research, it is very important to do primary research because you see that who has failed, who has done exactly the same thing that you're doing and failed. Why have they failed? The information about failure is very important. It can actually bring up a lot of knowledge to you so you don't repeat the mistakes all over again. You don't reinvent the wheel, and you invent something new. So this is one of the things that a company called Smart Germany did with a simple behavioral problem that was none of us like to wait for the traffic signals. In India, the system is a little bit different. We cross wherever we want, but I miss that right now. But in most of the international countries, you have to wait for the light to go green at every crossing. I will show you what I mean by that. And usually everyone hates doing that. We hate waiting for it.
Some people are born to live their lives. I'm born to dance. Want me to work like a dog in a full-time job? Haha, I'm born to dance. Don't wear no coat, no tie, no shirt, and even no pants. I'm born to dance. You shaking your head? Well, I'll be shaking my ass, cause I'm born to dance. I wanna shake it and shake it and shake it and shake it and shake it, girl. You wanna shake it? I wanna shake it and shake it and shake it and shake it and shake it, yo. Watch me dance now.
Right, yeah, it's very entertaining video. We can stop it there. So as you see, the what could have been their problem root analysis when they did their five eyes could have been that there is no entertainment while waiting. The wait itself is not the problem because they know they have to wait. It's a safety issue. No one toys around with safety. But the issue actually was that they feel unentertained when they wait. That would have been, let's say, that would have been their root cause analysis, to which they said, okay, what are the ways to entertain people? How can we make it more interesting for people to wait? And that's how it worked in Germany. Right. And there's one more video, one more product design actually I'd like to show you. That would be considered, the previous video would be considered into service design or user experience design. This example is of industrial design. It's a product, it's a lamp. Because light saving is such a big issue, and we as children did not value light enough. We would leave fans and lights on. I used to do it all the time too. But how do you, instead of just telling a child even in an educational context to not do it, if you get something like this, it's literally telling them that light is equivalent to the money that you cost, or how valuable light actually is. And now I'll briefly talk about design and storytelling. This is also going to be a little bit interactive. It's not going to work if it's not. So I encourage a lot of participation in this. Again, no right or wrong answers. We are just trying to have some fun while understanding how design and storytelling works. I'm going to have you guess which ad this is. All of them are soaps, hint. But I'm going to have to ask you to guess which soap it is.
Santur.
Okay. This?
Probably Lyril.
Sorry?
Lyril. Lyril. I don't know.
Oh, has it gone
I can't
away?
remember.
Just a sec. This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lyril. Lyril.
And then this one?
I just I think I just saw this ad and I forgot. I don't know what it was. I think it's Centaur maybe.
Okay. This one?
I think this is Pears or Johnson's baby. I think one of them.
Correct. Yeah. So let me tell you, why is it that you remember the certain things without, I didn't even show you the soap. I didn't even show you what brand it represents, right? And it's
But
not
they
just
use
memory
the
that
same color.
yeah, yeah, they use the same color, don't they? And it's not just your memory. For example, what Santur was trying to sell is the youth of a mother. If you can be recognized, if no one can believe that you're a mother of a child, you must be using Santur. So it's a way of telling a story. It's not a soap. Soap is literally nothing. It's a very simple composition, a chemical process. People make soaps at home, right? Now we know people make, a lot of people make soaps at home. But why are you still attracted? Why do you use the soap that you use? Is it just because it's good, or is it just because it smells good? Or it's you're actually buying into the story that they're trying to sell? With Santur, it was the youth that they were trying to sell. This is actually Nirma, if Nirma detergent, not the soap, but this was Hema, Rekha, Jaya, Sushma, and this is Nirma, if you remember. And Nirma at that time meant woman empowerment, is that they don't need a man to push their truck out of the mud. They can do it themselves. And that meant empowerment at the time. And in that process, they got dirty and they would use Nirma to close their, to wash their clothes. So what they're trying to sell to you is woman empowerment. Um, Yeah, and this is actually Liril. Or it was interesting that someone said Synthol because Synthol and Liril cater to the same story, which is the freshness. So when you see mountains or someone taking a bath in a spring, you immediately jump onto these soaps. So what they're selling is the idea of feeling as fresh as you were taking a bath in the mountains. And then yes, this is actually Pears. This is actually Pears. Pears and Johnson's babies cater to the love a mother would be giving to the baby, right? Or Pears also caters to a little bit more of mid-ranged audience. But short story, I mean, long story short, storytelling and how it impacts. You sell a story behind the product, and that's what they're going to buy when they buy the product. One of my favorite things always to example to show is paperboat, because if you remember when paperboat came into the market very recently as a drink. If you remember, as children, I never saw paperboat, or I never saw anything remotely close to this, right? It was, imagine the amount of soft drinks that we have in our country, which is Pepsi, Thumbs Up, Mirinda, Fanta, Coke, how many more, Slice, Maza, and then each of the states have their own local produce, the grape juices or the grape sodas. So much going around, with a shop that is literally already full of soft drinks and options for soft drinks. This company was able to not only launch their product but successfully break the market and go up to the top. Right now, if you take a flight in India, this is what you'd be served. Paperboat is what they serve in flights. So how did it get there despite it being such a crowded market? Is that they were not selling you a product, they were selling you your childhood. If you recall seeing any of the paperboat ads, you will see how they show a little boy who has made a little boat and he's leaving it in the water, like we all did when we were kids. When it rained, the streets were full of water, and that's what we did. So they're trying to tap into your nostalgia, into your story to sell a product. Maybe it's actually not that good. Maybe the juice, maybe Maza is better than Paperboat's Amrus, but you would still buy a Paperboat because they've touched you in a different emotional scale. So all of Paperboat's campaigns very cleverly are based on inducing nostalgia. So their taglines is it's a recipe, it's not a formula. You know how other Coke is like a formula or Thumbs Up is like a formula. This is a recipe made of love. Um, and the way these people even write their drinks, name their drinks, in fact, it's called Jaljeera and it's called Amras, right? One thing Ma never had to ask you twice to finish. You just finished it. So everything in this campaign and their launch was extremely concentrated on giving you your childhood. And that's how they could just pierce through the saturated market, and they still are doing a very good job at it by introducing new flavors. So that's pretty much the end of the talk. Before we go on to the Q&A though, I would like to show you guys two of my projects. One, Finer Wine, was a graphic design or a branding project that I had done. And I'm going to talk to you about the sort of difficulties or how we catered to behavioral difficulties that the client was giving. And then this one is information and service design. This is I will come back to it and I'll come back and explain to you. Let's take a look at Finer Wine first. It's already loaded. Right. So Finer Wine, it was a commercial project for me. It was a solo project. This was a client who was sitting in New Zealand, who had a retail wine shop. He was selling wines. He does not make them. He sells the wines, but he sells a select variety of wines, like a shop. So when he looked at his website statistics or his sales statistics, he saw that his organic wines were selling a lot. He said that's 80% of my business is coming from organic wines. And so I think I need to now have a logo for my organic wines. I need to have an identity for myself so that because there is a lot of business there and I want to increase the business, I want to increase the identity of my business. So I want a logo, was what he came to us with. I started ideating on what is it that goes into organic farming, what is the story behind organic farming, Why does it matter that you organically farm something? And also, he explained to us a lot of things. What does the produce depend on? It depends on moon cycles. It depends on the pest cycles. Some years are just really bad. Um, and all of that. He explained a very good context. And then I took my own inspirations from pictures of New Zealand, from the mountainscape of New Zealand, from the wineries, how they look. I started drawing concepts, and I had made around 6 to 7 concepts to show to him. And he said, you know what, they're all nice. They're all very nice, but could you try something else? Then I said, okay, I'll try something else. And then I pushed myself a little bit more and I made more concepts. And then I said, okay, here are more concepts. Then he said, these are also very good, but can you make some more concepts, because I don't know. And he was really confused. He wanted to launch a new store and he was wanting to use this logo in the new store construction. He was also very stressed at that time. And he was simply not able to decide which one he wants. And the reason was not that they are not good enough. The reason was that which I sort of analyzed is that no matter how many ideations I make, he's not going to pick one because he does not know how to pick one. All he knows is a logo. If he picks a logo right now, that is going to stick to his business for a long time, right? And he was too nervous to take a decision. Also, he did not know on what basis do you actually pick options of a logo. So then I said to him, if you're open to trying something like this, why don't you, because he has an old shop, and I said, why don't we take top four options, print it out on a piece of paper, and we will put it up at the billing counter of your old store. And let's say you ask all your popular customers, all your regular popular customers, to vote on what they think your shop is more, what they think which logo suits the shop more. And he did that, and that's how we decided the logo at the end of it. And that was the logo that we had decided on. And very ironically, when I had first shown him this logo, he had discarded this entirely. He said, this bird in the logo is not a good thing because it represents the youth who has gone free and all they want to do is drink. So I don't want to have a bird in my logo, is what he had said to me. And but the people themselves chose this. And see, he already had prejudiced notions saying, oh, the bird, this is what the bird means to me, so I'm not going to pick the bird anymore. But once he saw that people related to the word organic more with this specific logo, he was completely okay with it. He turned a complete 180 and he was extremely happy to have chosen this logo at the end of it, which was a surprising thing for us too, because it was one of a kind. I mean, usually graphic design projects don't take that much effort in convincing because people pick at the end of the day. But this was a very interesting project for that very reason. Um, yeah, this is just a short story of the project, what I did with it, and how I developed the elements around it. His business card, his stationery, and the wine boxes had to be printed as well, so I had designed for them as well. So this was the actual shop that he launched. That's how it looked in the inside. This was his launch that he did. And this is the box that he made at the end of the day. But he is still supremely happy. He keeps sending me messages saying, thank you so much for the entire process. From not knowing what to pick for yourself to being extremely happy with what he picked. It was a very good journey with the project. Um, all right. I will show you another one of the projects. This is a current project that we very recently did in January. This was a group project. A bunch of me and my colleagues, we did it together as part of a course. So we were working on long COVID. Long COVID is basically anyone with experiencing the symptoms of long COVID, such as memory loss, brain fog, loss of concentration, loss of motivation. All of those are considered as long COVID. And people are experiencing this for 1-2 years after getting COVID. And it was a real issue over here. And it was brought to our attention that there is a huge community of people that are experiencing long COVID. And we were asked to design some services for them. For which we first had to go about understanding what the problem is. So we picked mental health as the area that we want to do something about. How do we motivate the user, or how do we make sure that the user does not feel anxious or lost? So for which we were given 5 people. So the design process that I explained in the beginning with the double diamond and the problem evaluation matrix, we applied it all in this project, and that's what I'm going to take you through. Not in too much detail, but I'll just skim through. We collected interview, we structured an interview, and we collected data from 5 participants. That's all we could get. Um, and then for a few users who are willing to participate with us, we did a user journey. We said, okay, what do you do when you get up? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And how do you feel doing the step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4? As you see, the yellow one is like a emotionless. I'm okay with doing it. The green is happy. The red is not happy. So now we can see exactly that socializing was a big deal, was a problem that stood out for us, right? They cannot socialize enough because they get too tired. They book some workshops or some sports things, and they end up not going to it because suddenly they feel energyless. And we did another user study where we did day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 studies with participant. Each day for 5 days, we asked them, how do you feel doing task 1? How do you feel doing task 2? And we made an emotion map of that. And then once you have the data, you can make sense of it, saying, okay, this is where this person has been having issues. Same thing happened with us. We came up with a bunch of problems, but then how do we pick? We picked it based on the pain point and the effort to fix. Yeah. So we said, okay, they don't have a community to talk to. So let's focus on that. And then let's say something is happening to me right now. I don't know what's happening to me and I don't know what to do about it. So these tools or the coping mechanism, we said they don't know that there are coping mechanisms that can help them. Let's say we will provide them the coping mechanisms. And then we said missing out on social experiences, which is that once they have something like COVID, they're isolated already. And on top of that, they were not able to meet with their family, meet with their friends, do social activities, go for a hike or go to the beach. They could not do any of that. So we said, let's see what we can do about the social experiences. So we picked 3 problems to concentrate on in this. And this is one of the things that we also had to do is business value proposition. This is close to the marketing aspect of it, saying who is going to fund this solution that I'm going to make? Is the government going to fund it? Is there an organization, is there an NGO that would be interested in funding my product if I make it? So you understand who is it that will be your partner, that will be what will you give to them as your USP, unique selling point, what would be the cost structure, where will you draw the revenue from, and everything. And this is a stakeholder map. Again, the same thing. How many other things are involved if we do make a solution? How many other people will be involved with us? How many distributors will be involved? Are there programmers going to be involved? Do we need to hire psychologists? What is it going to be? So you take a look at the bigger picture of who is it that is going to make this product a reality. And concept visualization, because we did the root cause analysis as well. We did the 5 whys, and for each of the problems, we did the 5 whys, and we came to a certain solutions which we then chose. This is not relevant at this point. This not either. Right, so we ended up making an app with certain features that were like, if you are having anxiety, why don't you see what tools are available for you? Is there breathing tools available online? Is there a psychologist you can talk to immediately? Is there maybe someone who has had the same issue? Maybe you don't need professional help right now. Maybe you need another person who also has long COVID just to talk to them. Maybe that will help your anxiety. So we have features which we incorporated based on doing the entire process. And the solution making part, of this project was actually, again, as I said, was just 20% of the time, and 40% of the time we spent, or 60% rather in this case, we spent on defining the problem, understanding the user, doing the user journey, and then making something out of it. And for the prototype, the last part is the prototype, the testing part. So for that, we made like a rough timeline of what we will be testing, with who we will be testing, how much time will it take, how many phases can be divided into, and etc. This is extremely, technical, so I won't be going through all of this. But in short, this was the entire process that we had to implement in order to get to a small service or define a small service design. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for being such a lovely audience. Love that you guys responded. I like keeping my presentations interactive because I don't want you guys to sleep. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if there are any questions, I'd like to answer them now.
Did you think about solving your tea problem using a coffee percolator? You know,
So yeah, that's one of the options, yes. So instead, one of the things that I ended up doing, behavioral convenience, was that coffee here is much easier to make than tea. So I just make coffee now. I left tea for some time because it's easier to make. No matter how many solutions you have, sometimes behavior overrides everything. But yeah,
right, right. Because
yeah,
if you have espresso machines, right? What they do is
yeah, yeah,
they heat up the water, and then
yeah,
they I mean, what happens is the water passes at a very high pressure.
yeah.
As a result, at temperature higher than 100 degrees Celsius, through the coffee, and then you get
Mhm.
a very concentrated extract. Now, all I'm asking you to do is replace the coffee powder with whatever tea
With
that you
tea.
like, right? And
Yeah,
you end up
yeah,
with a very concentrated concoction of tea, and then
right.
you store it, yes, use it as a cold brew, or add cream to it whenever you want, and
Yeah,
enjoy
yeah,
your.
yeah. See, yeah, I love it that you are coming up with solutions on the spot. See now, if you had a team of people brainstorming at the same time for solutions, you will have so many solutions from so many people. And then once you use the solution matrix, the clarity that it gives you is just really good. So I recommend using those tools if it'll be really useful for you guys.
And one more thing, how much revenue did NBU generate?
Sorry, which? And you?
NDU, yes,
It was an
yes.
academic project.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Because
it
I
was
because
done
I
as,
because
sorry.
I was thinking about the feasibility of the same. I don't know how
Yeah.
big the community is going to be, and then how are you going to are you going to charge them for per community meetup? I think
Yeah.
there are services that can be charged and cannot be charged.
Yes, in fact, we did exactly that. There are some services in the app that are completely free for them to use. There are some premium services that will be chargeable because they're going to require us to hire someone to do it. So we had in community options, we had something called talk to a psychologist or have
Right.
a group meeting with a psychologist. So that means that we will have to hire a psychologist, which is something that needs to be externally paid for. So such services, we defined them to be paid. Again, all of that came to us because we did the business value proposition. We said, okay, these are the vendors, these are the people that we need to be dealing with. So we need to make sure the revenue is well distributed. Where do we ask for money from the user? What do we give for free? What can we afford to give for free? Everything has to be analyzed, as you said.
So did you choose like a subscriber model, or did you choose?
Yeah, yeah. we did in fact choose a subscriber module for external events. So we said, if you're using the app at home, you don't need to pay. But if you make some booking, such as community, if you want to meet a bunch of people that you have made friends with over the app, if you want to meet them somewhere, and if you want us to arrange like a venue for you or arrange like a mediator for you, then you will have to pay a certain amount under subscription. Yeah, it's like if you pay monthly, you will get to attend one of those outside meetings.
Right, right.
Yeah.
This is this is. I mean, I feel that it is too much of coddling
Yeah.
with this. But I guess as long as it gives you money, no problem.
So usually in our projects, the question would be as long as it solves the problem. So to have a
See,
slide
most of
with
the
a mindset
problems
like that.
that you, yeah, most of the problems that you did mention, they are actually behavioral problems. But nobody would like to go through and change human behavior. Right? So that's where money comes in. Most of the problems
Yes,
can be
of
solved by
course.
human behavior.
Yeah. No, but frankly speaking, most of the digital products that we design, we are solving behavioral problems. The specialization that user experience gives us is I actually study how the human brain works, how much attention span is there, how do you actually visually generate interest, and all of that is actually part of the education that we do as professional UX designers. So, yeah, but everything needs to be backed by research, though, for us, because it does involve a lot of money and research has to be solid, concrete.
Right, right, it does. Because we also had some problems where we had designed a certain device. I mean, we we have a small front end for our smart iOS plan, and there are only two buttons, and they're the same color, so they people get confused as to which button to press. And then
Yeah.
we do not have any. I mean, most of the people who are using this, we did not think about it, but most of them who were using it, they were mostly illiterate or they had lesser education. So
Right.
the order in which they should do things was not very obvious to them. So uh, I I don't know. There is no cheap solution to the. You would have to include either like a podcast, like you said, wherein an audio follows. Like if you press this button, then this audio will play, and ask them to do the next
Yeah.
step and next step and next step. Or you can have a metal engraved sort of diagrammatic procedure SOP sort of thing, but both of them are costly. So, but we
Yeah.
we we did not expect such a big hurdle when it came to using that
Mhm.
the front end because it just has two buttons. But
Yes, no,
it
it's a huge problem. I will tell you that we spend hours and hours designing. Um, if you can imagine that it can go wrong, if you can also imagine it can go right, if you put thought into it before actually launching it or testing it. And in fact, even we have to test a lot of cycles. We have to use technology like eye trackers to make sure that we see where are they looking on the screen in the design. We show them design 1, design 2, design 3. We do the eye tracker analysis and we're like, okay, design 3 is working the best. This is where I want them to look. This is what I want them to press. They are pressing that. So good job. So that one iteration gets successful. So we usually make multiple iterations such as that in the field.
oh great that you have access to such technology is amazing, uh, and
Yeah,
because
no. So the thing
understanding
is, as I think I'm pretty sure even in India it's going to be it's going to be very soon, it's going to all be there, because design as a field just picked up in India. Industrial design came in, then product design came in, graphic design came in, and user experience design is the next thing to come in, and it is the most important thing. It's what's happening in the world right now. Everything is digital, and everything that is digital needs to be designed. You need a user experience designer who has put thought behind the things that you just mentioned. So first, then the technology will become available if once people make their mind that it is important. It's like having a 3D cutter or a laser printer. You could have thought they were expensive before as well. But once people start accepting it and people start giving it importance, it will come through.
Correct.
So
Correct.
hopefully you will also see good amount of technology in India.
So, how much does an eye tracker cost? I'm just being curious.
How much does a
Eye tracker cost.
what we have been told over here, I don't know at the price, and I can tell you, I think around 3 lakhs.
Okay, great.
It's not
That's
much.
pretty high.
Yeah, it's not actually. At 3 lakhs, it may cost for an eye tracker for you to like set up a system of eye tracking. 3 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make it cheaper.
You would always find cheaper manufacturers, honestly.
Right. No, that's what we do, right? We are idiots. We just copy stuff and make it cheaper.
The more people buy, the cheaper it will get.
Right, right. Okay. Thanks for this session. It's really, really insightful.
Thank you. Is there any more questions? We are on time, so we have 2 minutes more to go. All right. If no one has any questions, or you can have my email, I'll put it in the chat. And if you would like to ask me any questions later on or know more about design, you can send me an email. I put my email in the chat. Well, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
On behalf of GTU Design Innovation Center and AV Parekh Technical Institute, Rajkot, we are very much thankful to you, and we look forward to organize such sessions in future as well. There would be many other startups who may need help of you in, especially in design consumer behaviorism. So then we look forward to connect such startups with you as well. Any startup who is wishing to connect with ma'am anytime, they can get in touch with ma'am on the email address or at the center as well. We will definitely help you. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Feel free to reach out for any questions. And I will take my leave now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good rest of the day.